What the fuck is this piece of shit?
In my Backrooms video, I talked about how the concept of liminal spaces is entirely American and was exclusive only to Americans because of the imagery that showcases liminal spaces are places that can be found exclusively in America. Well, mostly. But if you want to learn more about my opinion on this particular topic, as well as the movie, do consider watching my Backrooms video down in the description below. So, in this video, we're gonna create an aesthetic, and you have the chance to participate, yes, you, by joining me create a world that you might not know already exists in your own subconsciousness. Liminal spaces, an aesthetic that gained popularity in the 2020s for its vibrant and simple architecture that some people connected with through shared memories of familiarity, which features suburban neighborhoods and abandoned malls, maybe a little bit of both. I get the idea of it, but I cannot relate to it. Art isn't always something that you have to relate with, but at least have the faintest idea of what it is and what it's trying to say. But for an aesthetic that is supposed to represent a childhood imagery meant to be universal, the way it's presented should vary depending on the location. And if we're talking universal, the possibility will not be limited, because everyone, and I mean everyone, has their own unique vivid memory from their childhood, which is why we're here to create a subgenre of liminal spaces that exist from across the world, which is going to be hard, but I never said it was going to be easy either. The main point of liminal space is that they are liminal. The current online aesthetic heavily favors certain kinds of architecture, which makes it difficult to imagine how the concept translates elsewhere, due to complicated architecture and complex placements of objects, as well as places that can be considered overpopulated, that imagining the location without its thriving inhabitant will be considered impossible. But that's what makes liminal spaces also so eerie. The fact that you have these locations that you know should be buzzing with people is entirely empty, which gives us this sense of dread. My question is, if we strip an aesthetic down to its essential ingredients, will we be able to recreate that feeling somewhere else? With music, it doesn't show you anything, but rather it gives you a feeling and you supply your own pictures from it, which is why music tends to be more inclusive and universal because of the freedom of having to fill in the images yourself. With concepts like liminal spaces, all you have is a blueprint, which I would list using the following. First off, it has to be unsettling. That could already be achieved by literally going outside in the middle of the night, which is most likely one of the few things that made people assume liminal spaces are universal, just because of the shared feelings that come from the uneasiness of being outside when half the world is asleep, completely dismissing what exactly the outside looked like if seen from anywhere else. Second, nostalgia. But nostalgia being universal in the 21st century can easily be traced from the golden age of colorful architecture that has since died down over the years, as well as the childlike mind of perceiving everything as colorful than they actually are. Nostalgia is universal, but it's just one of the few feelings that people feel about liminal spaces, which confuses it from being universal. Third thing is that it has to be dreamlike, which if you look at most of the images that feature the word dreamcore, you cannot get the sense of the repeating locations, and most of it are suburban yards and the inside of non-busy establishments that aren't. The one factor that makes people think these are universal is the greenery, the grassy fields. It's easy to replicate dreams by taking something from things we see in our everyday lives. Speaking of dreams, let's talk about movies, specifically Kurosawa's 1990 film, Dreams, which takes the same elements that you see in most dreamcore images, just by taking out one component, and that is the architecture that suggests what location it is from. Even this shot from All About Lily Choo Choo could also be perceived as dreamlike and universal. In the topic of movies, there have been some movies that features liminal spaces, but it will take quite some digging to see one that isn't from the US, which is why films like The Shining, Edward Scissorhands, and The Cat in the Hat are out of the picture. Although there had been movies directed by international filmmakers where the location that is based on could be traced back to the US, like for example the movie Vivarium, which was directed by an Irish filmmaker, as well as the 1967 movie Playtime, directed by a French filmmaker, even though this movie itself was based on the futuristic version of Paris, France. It could still be traced from the iconic headquarters that define modern commercial design. that you'll see primarily in the US and other locations that feature the same corporate architecture like London. Which begs the question, does a movie that has liminal spaces in its aesthetic exist in international movies produced and directed in the country it's based on? Yes, and here are just some of them. These are the few movies that perfectly encapsulates the liminal spaces used in their respective locations, which isn't much, especially if some of them lack the 3 examples I gave earlier. So is that it? Does the concept really just exist at a specific location exclusively because it has the right component? This video is not about stating the problem with liminal spaces, but rather expand and imagine what else could become one. And I believe that everyone has the ability to be an artist, which was why I asked you at the beginning of the video specifically which memories you have decided to become an aesthetic. I remember back in high school I forgot to bring a sheet of paper for a written activity. A classmate of mine had decorated hers with little drawings around the border, but she didn't like how it turned out, so she just handed it to me and said that I could have it. I looked at it for a few seconds and said, "You're an artist." She immediately disagreed and said, "No, I'm not." So I told her, "You're a perfectionist. That's what makes you an artist." She smiled. Maybe she blushed a little. Then she said, "That's probably one of the best compliments anyone's ever given me." I don't remember the assignment. I don't even remember what she drew. I remember that conversation because I wasn't trying to flatter her at all. I genuinely believed it. I think everyone is capable of creating something, and sometimes all they need is a little reason to believe they can. In her case, I used her own habits. But for you guys, this video, if I were to imagine a location as liminal spaces in my home country, it would most likely look like this. These are a few images that I searched up in the internet that I believe gives out the same feeling of a liminal space, reimagined in my home country. And maybe perhaps films could be produced using the specific locations to showcase the diversity of the concept. And what about you guys? Have you thought about what part of your location gives out that eerie, dreamlike and nostalgic feeling of a liminal space? The place you grew up in, and the rest of the people residing in it. Even if you're already from the US, since each state is unique in their own separate way. Maybe we could all create our own unique aesthetic.